Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
All right, we're back in another episode with Coach Kyle Lasseigne, which means that his Cardinals have survived yet another week. They are the lone wolf here in this area for football. Now, we're getting ready to tape our Sports on the Bayou show, so if you hear a little noise in the background, that means the crowd's starting to come in. And, of course, Coach Lasseigne is going to be a guest on that program also, so we're pre-taping him a little bit before to give him a little more airtime. But we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit. I know we don't like to go in the past, but what a great game for high school football. What a great game for the rivalry. And right off the record, I need to say this. I was prepared to wear the Edie White jersey. I lost a bet, but I want you for the record to say what?
I take full responsibility for forgetting that jersey at school. You know, it's been busy. It's been busy yesterday with Martin. Definitely, you asked me for the jersey, and just forgot to bring it. So we'll get you in that jersey at some point.
Yeah, because I don't want my cousin Jared Gross saying, man, you got out of it. I said, I was fully prepared. I told the crew, come on, I got to eat crow. I want the Edie White fight song when I put it on during the show. So I was prepared.
You were.
And, you know, that's just the way it goes.
You were.
All right, so what a great game. A lot of talent on the field, a lot of heart. I was telling you at one point, I would hear the Edie White side, especially after that opening kickoff, just go silent. Mm-hmm. And then when Edie White came back, when y'all came back, Vanderbilt, silent. Back and forth all night long, just hush, hush, hush in their motion. Anybody with cardiac problems probably shouldn't have went to that game.
You know, Martin, I don't really pay attention to that in terms of the crowd and the reactions that much until after the game, and then you watch it again and you see the sidelines get excited. But I know for both teams, the ups and downs of that whole night presented a bunch of opportunities where you could have really shut it down and been in trouble. And the opening kickoff was one of those. I didn't know how our kids were going to respond. That hasn't happened to us very often. But then we got the ball on offense, drove down the football field, and I felt better about it. And then you fumble the ball later in the game. And so you're down and you don't really know how we're going to respond. And then defense gets a stop. And both sides, both us and Vanderbilt, had those moments during the game where you could have really folded, and neither team did until the clock hit zero. So it was just a great high school football game. People got their money worth in the stands, and
they probably should have went back to the gate and gave it.
You think? And look, it lived up to the billing of what this game was supposed to be like. And when you get to the quarterfinals with two really good football teams, just a great experience for us and our kids.
You know, and like you said, y'all could have folded. Man, I'll be honest, in the first half, at halftime, I was telling people, man, Edie White is controlling the line of scrimmage. They're dominating the line of scrimmage. That changed in the second half. Of course, they had some turnovers too. That changed, but you got to play all the way through.
Yeah.
We all know that you play all the way through. But what a great game of ebbs and flows. And then all of a sudden, I thought when they scored, at the end, y'all came back. That was one key play. But at the end, I think you duped everybody because I really thought you were going to run it. Set up your field goal guy. I mean, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a good player.
But then you go deep.
Yeah.
I think you caught everybody off guard.
No, I didn't really have a lot of input offensively right there other than to say, let's do what we do in 2-minute situations because we do that all the time. We practice that all the time, and that's probably little unknown about us. But when we got some momentum offensively and we were throwing the ball successfully and getting first downs, I didn't want to shut that down and say, hey, let's change what we're doing and leave it up to a field goal. Let's go try to score.
They were in the groove.
Yeah, and really good momentum. Grant back there throwing the football was really accurate. We caught the ball. We were ahead of the chains most of that drive. So it was just a feel like don't stop this. Let's just keep this going. Let's try to score. And I didn't know that was going to be the play call at the end, but it turned out to be a great play call.
And I think Barbera to Ben Guidry on that, I think he had, 5 catches for 60-something yards. But Barbera, he's just one of those solid players, you know, and he looked like he was in the zone.
Yeah.
You know, and you're right. I guess as a coach, you got to feel when they're in that zone or when they might not be in the zone. But I think you probably guessed right on that because it was, you know, they were in it.
Yep.
Now, you know, I heard, Leeville's coming in town, and I heard this preliminarily, but I think people are a little changing a little bit because I read the stats on Leesville. They're no slouch.
No, not at all.
Now, I don't know who they played any, but this guy, Xavier Ford, his last 5 games, 308 yards in the last game, 5 TDs. His 6th straight game of plus 250 yards a game.
Really good player. One of the best we've seen in a long, long time on film. As I was telling you before, broke Cecil Collins' record there at Leesville. And Cecil Collins, everybody knows from his LSU days, a really good player. So you see some similar things with him. And obviously he's a key to their offense. He's a big physical kid with enough speed. But the thing about him when you see him play is he's really tough to get on the ground. Great balance, great cutting ability, and he'll run you over. So those things are challenges for our defense.
How big is he, Coach?
I'd say he's about 5'11", 6 feet, about 200 pounds.
Yeah, because I couldn't tell on the film if it was far away, but he looked fairly big.
Yeah, physical.
Powerful
physical kid.
kind of back.
Yeah.
Good speed, too.
Absolutely. Enough. He had enough of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, y'all should be used to speed. Y'all saw Jalen Coleman.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
so let's take a break. We'll be right back with Coach Kyle Lasseigne. Don't go away.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
All right, we are back with Coach Kyle Lasseigne, and we are advancing in the playoffs here in the area, and Edie White is the only school. So if you're not doing anything Friday, maybe you ought to go to Thibodeau and check it out, because there's going to be a lot of talent on the field. And I was looking, you know what? When you're scouting teams, it's one thing to scout somebody you know. But, of course, when you're scouting somebody you don't know, what do? You get on the phone with the other coaches that they played against? How do you do that?
We don't do that. We just watch film and evaluate film and see. You know, you're always trying to identify a weakness and try to take advantage of that. So where are they weak? What can we do offensively to take advantage of that? Defensively, what do we need to do to negate their best players? Those are things that we really do from film, because coaches will have their own opinions, and it maybe doesn't jive with what you see on film. So you got to trust your eyes. That's what we do. Trust our eyes from film, make a game plan, and then roll with it, and try not to deviate too much throughout the week. We had some issues last week where I thought we really, we're trying to do too much, and then trying to change things during the week, and we had to just get back to basics and say this is what we're doing. So that's going to be what we do this week as well.
Are they one-dimensional, or can they throw it?
No, they throw it pretty well, and I think that's the shocking thing, because when you see the numbers that the Ford kid puts up, you thinking he's going to carry the football 35, 40 times a game, and sometimes he does, but there are other times where they run really good play action stuff. They get their balls to the playmakers, and the quarterback's a sophomore, and I spoke with the coach yesterday, his first time he's playing football, but he distributes the ball really well. He's a different kind of quarterback than some guys that we see. Doesn't tuck it and run a whole bunch, but and they're young at the skill guys, but they got some speed. So that's going to be the challenge defensively.
Yeah. When you're gearing up for a team like this, of course, on the other side, they've never seen a defense like you.
Mm-hmm.
I just call your guys. I don't know what kind of Kool-Aid they're drinking. They're flying all over the place, and like T-Ben said, amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But they just come at you. They're very aggressive, and so they're getting to play somebody they've never seen before, too. So shoes on the other foot also.
Yeah, the tough thing about that, Martin, is how do you simulate what they have on offense? I mean, we don't have a Ford on our roster that can simulate that. So our kids have to understand that taking good angles and getting that guy on the ground is really, one of the keys to the game. So I think our kids see it. I mean, they're not going to ignore the film that they see. They know what kind of player he is. But we got to be able to defend everything that they do. And look, it's the semis. I said this before. You got to be a good football team to be in the semifinals, and everybody is. So we're going to prepare like every other week.
When you come off a big rivalry game that was so intense and sucks so much emotion, and with emotion comes energy, on Monday following, did you bust some butt on the field? Because sometimes that's what it takes.
Martin, I tell you, that was my primary concern yesterday. It was how are they going to react to just such an emotional game. And look, everybody all weekend's watching replays and highlights and all this other stuff, and being able to flush that and move on is really the key on Monday. Yeah. So I really wanted to see how we started practice yesterday. And if we started it correctly, I was just going to let it flow. And I thought we did a really good job. Yeah. We started, it looked like we were past it. Nobody said a word about the game from the previous Friday. It was all about game plan, getting ready. And so there was really nothing I had to do. And I think that's the sign of a veteran ball club who's mature.
They've been there before.
Yeah, I think so. And our senior leaders kind of led that charge for us.
All right, let's do that. I told everybody you're going to hear a little noise in the background. We're getting ready for sports on the Bayou. So just this is not something you're just hearing on TV. There's some people coming in, and they'll see Kyle during the show. But you keep alluding to the fact that you rely a lot on your coordinators and your coaches and all that. And I sort of watch that during the game. Everybody has their role, and they stay in that lane. There's some corroboration that goes on, but those lanes are pretty precise, aren't they?
They are. They're very defined. When somebody steps over that line, that's when I speak up. We can't have coordinators having messy brains, I call it, just not focusing on what they're intending to do. So Coach Chasson calls the offense, Coach Bergeron calls the defense, Coach Email calls the special teams, and we try to all have our role there. So our assistants do a really good job of just trying to execute the game plan and not trying to do too much. The support guys, the trainers, the managers all have a role. They understand that. And so it's a well-oiled machine, I think, that goes on Friday nights. But if you sit back and look at it, you see how complicated that whole mission is and all the parts that go to that. So we don't want things that happen on the sideline to impact the outcome of the game. We want it to be on the field. So I think our coaches do a really good job of that.
All right, we'll take a last break. We'll come back with Coach Kyle Lasseigne. 80 White Cardinals in the semifinals at home. Should be a pretty cool night in Thibodaux, as that front will come through Thursday, dump a little rain. It'll be a little cooler on Friday. Very similar to this week. Everything seems to be in that week pattern right now. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
All right, we are back with Coach Kyle Lasseigne, and Edie White once again is in the semifinals. They're playing in Thibodaux on Friday, and they got a good Leesville team coming in, identical 11-2 records. We talk about it a lot, but turnovers are going to be big. You had a couple of turnovers in the Vanderbilt game. What do you tell them? Is it something as a coach that you go to them and you say, nothing? Or do you stress it and maybe emphasize it? What do you do as a coach?
I try not to emphasize that on Friday nights, but yesterday at practice had a little new drill, fire ball carriers, and that's the way we try to, to address that. You don't want a kid being mentally thinking about that. Right. You want him to move on, and great example of that was Ben Guidry. Ben Guidry had fumbled a football early. Dropped a pass that could have been a touchdown early, and then comes back and makes the play at the end of the game. So you don't want a kid thinking about that. You want him to go move on to the next play, and so we don't generally address that.
Yeah, like I said, you've been down this road before. Y'all been to the big game before, the really big game before. So you got some younger people experiencing it for the first time. How much do you rely? You got, 25 seniors on your team?
25 seniors, yeah.
How much you rely on them?
Big time. They're the heart of our football team. They've been through it, so they know what it's about. You got to remind them of how important this week is and how important it is to do the right things this week and avoid the noise and the other issues that might have an impact on the game on Friday, and just treat it like a regular week. And we've talked about nameless and faceless opponents, and It's truly what it is. It's truly what it is. And our kids really do a good job of that.
Mm-hmm. Y'all back at school.
Yeah.
Last week, everybody was off.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's different as a coach, because you'd probably rather them at school.
Right.
Because you could see them and you know where they at.
Yeah. You know how they're feeling. You can check on them. You can deal with injuries.
Yeah.
You can maybe give them a pep talk if they need. You have access to them. And then when it's Thanksgiving, they're there for your 2.5 hours of practice, and it's a little more difficult to deal with those kinds of issues. So I'm very happy we're back at practice, back in a normal routine. Friday will be a normal routine as well.
You can tell the crowd's coming in. They boisterous for this late in the year. But look, I went up in y'all booth with Robbie and all.
Yeah.
And first time I ever been in there, and I was fortunate enough to interview me at halftime. But I was impressed. But they just take football to another level.
They do.
And from what I understand, when T-Ben said amazing, I don't know if that was a slip or he planned it, but y'all marketing that now.
We are. Look, I guarantee you it was a slip. It was not planned. That's just T-Ben. If you listen to a broadcast in the past, we've had many of those moments.
Yeah.
And so, honestly, when the game was over, I went back to my office and I put the game on immediately. I wanted to see the end of the game, and had no idea T-Ben was going to say that. And so I'm watching, and then when he says amazing, I lost it. It was so hilarious. It was so in the moment.
Yeah.
Their reactions that you see on the screen, just tremendous. And Saturday morning, my wife shows me something that somebody's designing a T-shirt that's going to say Cardinals are amazing now. So T-Ben is probably going to ask for some royalties on that, and we'll see how that works. But look, man, that just says how invested the community is in EDW football, that they're going to take the time. You could be doing anything you wanted to do on Friday night. You could come to the game if you wanted to, and if you didn't want to, you could watch the game stream, or you could be at a restaurant doing your thing.
Yeah.
And they chose to be involved in EDW football. So that, to me, that's really rewarding for me as a coach, to know that the community is that invested, that they would know T-Ben said amazing and would design a T-shirt for it.
Yeah, that was all fun stuff. What about injuries? Are you healthy?
Pretty healthy. We had a couple injuries Friday, and I thought they might be severe, but it appears like they're going to be healthy and ready to go on Friday. So,
okay. So, any superstitions start creeping in about this time, or I think you told me before you don't really play that game, do you?
Nah, we don't do any of that stuff. In fact, we don't talk a whole lot at practice. We just go to action. Like, let's go get it. So, Thursday we'll start talking focus and this is what we have to do. But really, we would just want to get out there and correct the things that we didn't do well. We know that if we fumble the ball a couple times Friday night, it's going to be tough. It's really going to be tough. You want to keep the ball away from Leesville. So we can't do those things. And so we'll correct those things. But it goes back to what are we anticipating them to do and try to prepare the best we can for it. And if they don't do those things, then we have the ability to react to it and change.
It's going to be a cool night, a little cooler probably than it was for the Vanderbilt game, but ball gets a little slicker. You can't simulate that at EDW. You can't put a dome over the whole field and pump in the air conditioning, but they just have to be ready.
Yeah. And we look, that all gets prepared for, but Friday nights are different, man. 7 o'clock. Yeah. It's just a different situation.
The lights go on, and some people really love the lights.
And some people don't like the lights. And that's why you try to identify that in your kids and know these are the kids that can play for me on Friday nights. How do they react? So we got enough of those tough kids, I think, can battle through that.
Coach, congratulations. We look forward to being there and covering the game. And good luck and as we follow the Cardinals into the semifinals.
Hopefully next week we'll be back here. I'll have that jersey for you. But, say a prayer for us.
That jersey was only good for 1 week.
Oh, that's it? Oh, okay. All right.
All right, Coach. Good seeing you again. All right, Coach Kyle Lasseigne. We'll take a break here as we are preparing for Sports on the Bayou. And I'm going to have a big crowd today, and Edie White will be featured also. And we wish Edie White good luck as they make their way into the semifinals.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.